and why we're asking congressional Democrats to really give a voice to young voters and to Gen Z. We have been asking for months to the Biden administration to establish a White House Student Advisory Board that would bring Gen Z and millennial activists inside the White House and listen to what their priorities are. Honestly, it is kind of hard as a relatively older president to understand what's affecting young voters without listening to that. So that's what we've been asking them to do and what we're going to keep pushing them to do until midterms.
Sochi, do you remember when we were young voters and we would have this conversation as young voters ourselves instead of people who were once young voters talking about them? Listen, there's this piece about how you message that is, of course, critical. There is this piece about delivering legislation. Sochi, the other thing we know is that a lot of this comes down to access, to how easy it is to vote, to how accessible voting is. And so as we have this conversation about voting rights in this country, one of the groups we need to be most concerned about is young Americans.
You're absolutely right, Alicia, and you've seen states like Texas and Georgia and others that are trying to pass voter suppression laws because they understand that if Democrats can't turn out young voters and minority voters, that Republicans will win. And that is why you've seen Chuck Schumer and the president and the Democratic leadership come out and say, wait a minute, at the beginning of this year, we are going to tackle voting rights because they understand if they don't restore the Voting Rights Act, if they don't put measures in place to stop these voter suppression laws, then Democrats aren't going to win, and therefore Democrats can't make progress for the American people. So you're going to see a big push at the start of the year because of those young voters, because of those minority voters, and the Republicans will continue to attempt to try to silence them.
So Tara, we've talked about Build Back Better. We have talked about voting rights. I also want to make sure that we talk about student debt, which of course is an issue to the American economy at large, often gets painted as a young person issue. I think we can all understand that there are multiple generations at this point that are saddled with an unprecedented level of student debt. Is that an issue? Do you believe if the Biden administration delivered on student debt, that could be a turning point?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, in our research, we found that over 75% of current college students would be more likely to vote in the midterms election if there was cancellation of any student debt, not to say if the student debt was canceled completely. And education reform in general is something that young voters care a lot about. I remember when Joe Biden was first running, his agenda included free college for a lot of people, and that just got left inside.
Just for the laughs, but for her fierce fights for equality, a woman we can all truly thank for being a friend.